Now, according to the Department of Higher Education and Training's HIV/AIDS program, HEAIDS, about 1,200 girls get infected weekly with HIV, and that in 2019, 32% of students had either fallen pregnant or was the father of an infant. 75% of the pregnancies are unplanned, and there's growing concern as first-year students enroll at tertiary institutions, and the concern is that they may not be prepared for these locations socially, whether it be peer pressure, pregnancy, HIV/AIDS, or knowledge of sugar daddies and so on. So with us this morning are Hlubikazi Agnes Mnomiya, who is a student health and wellness promoter at the Vaal University of Technology, and Lebogang Brenda Motsumi, who is an inspirational speaker and a capacity builder facilitator at the Center for Communication Impact. Ladies, thank you so much to both of you for coming through.
Thank you for having us.
I was just saying off air, this is such an important conversation because when we think of getting ready for tertiary institution, we think of the marks that the potential students need to have. We think about their accommodation. We think of tuition. We think of what they're going to wear, what they're going to eat. We don't talk about, you know, their sexual readiness for, oh, that sounds so wrong, but, you know, essentially getting them prepared for that social space that comes along with a lot of freedom that many youngsters perhaps would not have had previously, that they would now be exposed to. So Hlubikazi, let me start with you. You know, if we look at what the stats are telling us, the University of Washington's Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation, their study tells us that South African adults between 15 and 49 have an infection rate that has gone up by 5 percentage points since the year 2000. So what's happening in that space?
You know what, Sakina, I'll talk from a personal perspective. As a person who's living with HIV for 31 years now, you know, at that age, we are unable to negotiate protection with our partners, be it your husband or be it your sexual partner. We are unable to communicate to communicate and agree with usage of condoms. So that's the gap. I think that if women can be empowered to know that if I say, baby, let's use protection, if my husband say no, and then it's no sex, no condom.
So given the space where you find yourself right now, which is precisely what we're talking about, the entry into tertiary level education, how do you see the young students that come in, especially first years, and their preparedness for what lies ahead?
The first year students are not prepared at all. Remember that at the university, they are now going to get a freedom whereby there's no parent, there's no brother, there's nobody. You are on your own. You go as you wish, you come as you wish. And then the peer pressure again, the setup that you need to belong to certain group of students that maybe are wearing certain labels of clothing, some beautiful hairs. That's when students fall in love with the sugar daddies, and then they do sex for transactional things.
And the sad reality is, you know, as people who start very early here at the SABC, we see these things on a daily basis. When you drive past the UJ campus, you see the Ubers, you see the sugar daddies in big flashy cars dropping off students who are worse for wear as they alight from those vehicles. So Lebogang, in your instance, you know, I had the opportunity to read up a bit on your story, which is a very inspirational one, but also a very sad one. So just tell us about your story and what happened with you.
Well, I got infected at the age of 17. I was in school, but I think it all happened because I had the freedom to do anything I wanted to do, and there was no sexuality talk in the house. When I got on my menstruation, I was told stay away from boys or the blood will just come flowing down. And the more I went near boys, nothing happened. The more I explored more things, nothing happened, you know. And I started living a life that sought for approval from my peers and the people that I dated, because we have voids as young people, voids that we think materialistic things are going to fill, voids that we think friends that we hang around are going to fill, not knowing that the voids that you have as a young person is voids that you can only fill. And it's not by having certain lifestyles, it's by then understanding who you are and what it is you want to do in this world, right? So my infection came about from being ignorant because I felt HIV was not for me, because I grew up in a certain area considered a white, and I went to a multiracial school. I felt HIV was for people that came from certain parts of the country, and that is because of how I believe HIV was communicated and taught to me. So we also have those problems where young people go into institutions and they come from very good backgrounds and they feel that they're superior to the virus because of what they wear, how they speak, and who they hang around. Yeah.
So what advice would you give to, first-year students watching this, because they haven't gone back to school yet? So I'm hoping that quite a sizable number of them may be watching right now. What would you say to them?
I think, like I always say, it is not in my place to enforce behavioral change, but I can only influence it through what I do and through my storytelling, to a point where I wrote a book. And I wrote a book because I don't want any other young person to relive or retell my story. I think knowing why you want to engage in a sexual relationship that is transactional is very important. Why are you doing it? How are you going to take power in the relationship? Because most of these relationships, it's older guys. It's either intergenerational or it's really your blessees. And you know that you've got a contract. But why are you getting into this contract? Are you genuinely comfortable being with this person? If so, what measures are you taking to protect yourself in terms of condom usage and it being consistent in terms of going out and getting your PrEP, which is available, a pill that you can drink to prevent getting infected from HIV. Just knowing that you are in control of the relationship and you are not being controlled in the relationship, because we can't stop young people. All we can do is give them information to say, okay, I'm going to date so-and-so. I'm going to make sure I buy condoms, put them in my bags. I'm going to make sure I initiate conversations around HIV and AIDS and testing. I'm going to make sure that I'm also in control of my sexual health in this relationship.
And speaking of that information and the empowerment of it, a WhatsApp group has been established. So can we just talk about that quickly in terms of how young people can perhaps get in touch if they need to?
With me, where I am, I'm having 4 WhatsApp groups where we interact with the HIV positive student. That is a very close WhatsApp group. But my number is available to anybody who wants to talk to me. I don't know whether should I...
Yes, please
okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, my number is 082-976-1547.
And just as a matter of curiosity, at the institution where you are at, do you know what the prevalence rate of HIV is at your institution?
It's not much. It's around 5%. Because while around 5%, what we have come to realize is that most of the students, more especially those are born in 2000, they are born with HIV. They only find out when they are in the institution, when they get sick, and then we test, we take the history, then we find out, oh, okay, this one is born with HIV. Then you take the history, where is the father, where is the mother, they are normal.
And just the final one, Lebogang, if people want to get in touch with you?
My best avenues are social media, Lebogang Brenda Motsumi on Facebook, and on Twitter and Instagram is at Motsumi Lebo.
Well, I hope you will take this opportunity to actually engage with these 2 influencers who spoke to us this morning, because I know I didn't have that conversation with my children when they went to university, and I realize now how important it is. And thank you to both Hlubikazi Agnes Mnomiya, who is a student health and wellness promoter at the Vaal University of Technology, and Lebogang Brenda Motsumi, who is an inspirational speaker and a capacity building facilitator at the Center for Communication Impact.